Hello everyone. After our excursion into the depths of space in the last video, we again focus back on Earth and look at the last character in this list of short introductions. This one is a close friend of the legendary Commander Larson and played one of the most crucial roles during the assault on the Ardumen research facility. Subscribe to the channel, like and share this video, and I hope you're excited for this one. There was a time before humanity had spiraled into endless warfare. In these very earliest days of the pre-3876 era, mankind had already started to militarize their populations. Disputes between the people on Earth and the people on the Moon grew ever more violent. Before the widespread introduction of a combat augmentation called modification drones, many factions resorted to biological experiments to create hybrid humans. Most of these new breeds, however, were already extinct at the start of the year 3876. Of those who had survived, one of the most notable hybrid humans were the Crocodile Men, large creatures solely bred for warfare and designed as frontline combatants. Over the course of many centuries, they had split away from human factions and created their own societies. With the introduction of the modification drones, their previously lacking intellect would also gradually return to them. Now they had become a self-sufficient society who has small tribal settlements all around a region called the Swamp of Smoke. The swamp consists of several different biomes, bordering both the Devon Forest and wrapping around the Brianna Wilderness, leading into the sea on both its southern and western ends. It is a densely mostly flooded jungle where the air is even more hazardous than in the aforementioned Devon Forest. The physiology of crocodile men made them completely immune to most toxins they would encounter in this dangerous wilderness. As a result, their settlements would thrive, and in the post-3876 era, they would even start an active trade with the newly established Earth military. A powerful warrior of the Baal tribe, to the south of the capital region Jodvik, called Kar-O, was an essential player in creating said Earth military. Together with the legendary war hero Commander Larson and his following, he was an important combatant during the Ardumen assault. In the late pre-3876 era, Commander Larson had already established what would later be referred to as the early Earth military. After the introduction of the modification drones, driven by their destructive programming, humanity had plunged into endless warfare over many centuries. Early grievances between Earth factions and Moon factions had been forgotten long ago, and the violence was no longer with purpose, but solely driven by the artificial changes that occurred in the psyche of all humans, both on Earth and even the most distant of colonies in space. When Commander Larson managed to regain clarity over his mind, it was already almost too late for humanity. He became one of the first awoken and a so-called controller type. Larson's newfound clarity had granted him the power to control the modification drones in and around his body. Using his new powers, Larson would amass an army, the early Earth military, and set out to create a cure for the ill effects of the modification drones, saving humanity in the process. The crocodile warrior Kar-O had been a long-lost friend of Larson and would also join in soon after. When the early Earth military was assembled and most Earth factions had been subjugated, Kar-O would also participate in the assault on the Ardumen research facility in the Brianna Wilderness, one of the last industrial complexes that withstood the last few devastating faction wars. At the dawn of the year 3876, plans to conquer the area were finally set into motion. After a dangerous expedition into the Devon Forest, Kar-O was witness to the discovery of an ancient artificial lifeform that calls itself GT. He, would be the key to their later success. With the vast knowledge about the modification drones, GT assured Larson that given the right equipment, he would be able to create a new strain of modification drones that would work almost like an inoculation and should cure the afflicted from their artificial curse. Newly formed elite squads, consisting of Commander Larson himself, the Crocodile Man Kar-O, the artificial lifeform GT, the cunning rogue Kaya Vashar, and the crash-landed Moon faction soldier Kal Aldan, as well as their respective battalions, would begin their assault on Ardaman. Kar-O himself was assigned to early reconnaissance. Despite his size, almost twice as big as a regular human, his ability to move through the undergrowth silently and undetected would shine. From his early observations, it was clear that this battle would be a hard-fought one. The Ardaman Research Facility is a large complex with many buildings and industrial production hubs. With the help of very impressive new moon tech, the local Earth faction managed to secure the premise and establish themselves as one of the strongest remaining factions. During the first few days of fighting, Larson's squad managed to infiltrate their largest building. It was evident that the enemy was expecting an assault from the early Earth military, but they would not be prepared for an unexpected ally. Within several hours, the occupying enemy faction managed to retaliate, and the situation for Larson and his team worsened by the minute. Only with Kar-O's help were they able to hold the line for long enough for this unlikely ally to appear. Without any warning, an Orkan faction led by the one who they call Ancient Spirit 564 would come to their aid, and started to ambush the enemy Earth faction from all sides. They stood no chance, and soon the early Earth military would be able to celebrate their victory. The Orkans are machine men that had been created from fallen soldiers by a phenomenon called rogue modification drones. Their isolationist nature made it most curious why they would ever intervene in something that should only look like any other regular faction war to them. While Larson himself was absent to aid with GT's experiments to fabricate this new second strain of modification drones, Kar-O and Kaya took it upon themselves to engage in diplomatic talks with their recent savior, the commander of the Orkans, Ancient Spirit 564. It was revealed to them that the Orkans had been monitoring the early Earth military at least since their expedition into the Devon Forest. The discovery of the artificial lifeform GT had piqued their interest even more, as such advanced ancient technology was mostly unheard of. When they found out that Commander Larson had a cure for the irrational behavior caused by the modification drones, they were in disbelief at first, but after encountering a few of the early Earth military's controller types and witnessing their new powers firsthand, they changed their mind. All fauna and flora on Earth, including all of mankind and even the atmosphere as well as matter itself, had been contaminated by modification drones. The only exception were the Orkans. According to their uniqueness, they went into isolation and began life as a new kind of human being. Now that the rest of humanity had a chance to return to their senses because of Larson, like they did many centuries ago, most Orkan leaders were inclined to reunite with their estranged counterparts. It was ultimately 564's decision to intervene in this skirmish and begin their new alliance on the battlefield. Overseen by GT, Kaya and Kar-O, after their victory and subsequent creation of the second strain of modification drones, the entire population on Earth was inoculated and the new powers of controller-type soldiers became widespread. When the Interstellar Crusades, led by Kal Aldan, came to an end, Commander Larson and Kar-O would embark on a secret mission dealing with the Orkans and the newly established Moon Alliance. The goal was to find a solution for the corruption of the land by the rogue modification drones. Despite all his efforts, eventually Kar-O was separated from Larson, and even after days of searching, the commander was nowhere to be found. It was clear that this must be the machinations of the Orkans and their new spatial rift technology, enabling instantaneous space travel. After reporting back to the Earth military, they began to send out experimental exploration spaceships in the hopes of finding Larson. Without any more leads as to Larson's whereabouts, Kar-O would continue to build a future for mankind on Earth as promised and awaits his return. Thank you for watching. I made this video intentionally a little bit shorter. Doing 20 minutes is a lot of fun, but also very time consuming and leaves me only little time to continue developing the game, as well as doing some freelancing on the side to make a living. In future videos we will depart from specific characters and focus more on general topics such as the technologies, geography, cities and cultures in the world of 3876 AD, and we might also depart from this to discuss about the games I plan to make as well as my current development. Thanks again for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, share the video and comment below. Cheers, and until we meet again.